Our next guest says that we can build bridges in a divided world by living in the question. Here to explain, we welcome back recovery expert and author of Conscious Creation, TJ Woodward. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. I'm so honored to be here with you.
So tell me about this idea, living in the question. What does that mean and how do we put it into practice?
Well, I think we've been told that we're living in a polarized world or a polarized country, but I actually think we've been conditioned to have polarized thinking. In other words, we're taught from a really early age that finding answers is important. And of course, in some ways it is, but questions can actually help connect us and open us up to different possibilities than the idea of I am right and you are wrong.
Okay, so that's kind of the pitfall, right? Being hyper-focused on what the answer is can kind of take away some of those beautiful moments along the journey.
That's absolutely right. And, of course, when we believe we are our opinions, then we tend to try to find people who agree with us. But we all know the world is much more nuanced than that. And we actually can stay connected with people, even if we don't agree with their opinions. I think in the past, we've said something like, we're going to agree to disagree. I think moving forward, we can actually be genuinely curious about someone and maintain connection, regardless of whether we agree with their point of view or not.
So is that one of the ways you get past kind of that I am right, so you are wrong thinking, just maintaining that curiosity?
Absolutely. And the phrase, would you rather be right or happy, is definitely one that comes into play. Because I would say, would I rather be right or stay connected, whether that's a family member, someone in a workplace? We're surrounded by people who have differing points of view. And I think sometimes we think, well, I can't really stay connected with this person because I disagree. And I actually think we can maintain connection even in the midst of that.
Yeah, that's really heartening to hear that, because I think a lot of us have been in a situation where it feels really hard and you're not sure how to push through some of those big differences. But what about internal conflict and uncertainty? How do you kind of grapple with those moments?
Well, I think maybe even more important is using the questioning process to open ourselves up to seeing things differently. I think the phrase, I don't want to believe everything I think. I love that because I used to think that I really did believe all the thoughts in my head. And when we ask ourselves open-ended questions, we can actually start to expand and see things differently rather than staying stuck in the way we've always seen it. Because, as we say, nothing changes if nothing changes.
Right. Well, and then you mentioned those open-ended questions, so we should steer away from things that begin with the question why, right?
Yeah. Why is often we think if I can get to the why, I can fix it. So there's this idea that something's wrong here and that I need to figure out why I'm feeling this way. Questions that start with who, what, where, and when tend to open us up to more curiosity and create more connection.
Well, and don't you find too that generally people do like to talk about themselves and their personal stories? If you just kind of get in there and ask maybe a childhood memory or something so simple, you can create a really lasting connection from just a really easy conversation.
Yeah, I mean, as you were saying that, I was reminding myself that when I was quote unquote learning to conscious listen, I knew I was supposed to nod and look at a person, but was I genuinely interested in what they were saying, or was I responding in my mind? So the practice now, ask an open-ended question and then be genuinely curious. Sometimes I can really have compassion and understanding for someone's point of view, even if it's different than my own.
And even the people that you know and you've spent a lot of time with, there are things about them that you'll uncover that will maybe make their whole personality make more sense when you make that connection to something from their past that you weren't aware of before.
100%. Compassion. We have more compassion. That compassion creates connection. And then, as you said, like we might learn something about someone that we never even knew that they had experienced. And it will inform us not only through a lens of compassion, but also more curiosity. Wow, I want to know more about that. Obviously, the more we're interested in the people we're talking with, the more connected we all feel.
Do you have a couple of examples of those open-ended questions that are some go-tos for you?
Well, the questions I like to ask myself is what else is possible here? Maybe I'm in a scenario where it feels frustrating. And rather than saying something like, why does this keep happening? Or why do I keep choosing this? I'll pause and I'll say, what are the infinite possibilities here? What else might want to be revealed? Who might I want to connect with so I can have a differing point of view? Those are a few of my favorites.
All great stuff. Hey, thank you so much for spending some time with us today. It was great chatting with you.
Thank you. My honor. So great to be with you.
Again, TJ's book is Conscious Creation, and we'll have more information on our website at katu.com. We'll be right back with more Afternoon Live right after this.